Hi there, Lindsay from Prairie Fire here. Just wanted to give a quick thank you on behalf of the staff and board of Prairie Fire to the Composing Winnipeg class at the University of Winnipeg for working with us on this project and for conducting the interviews. As well, a big thank you to all of the authors who took time out of their busy day to be interviewed for this project. Just to let you know, this is a video series, so we will be posting more videos as well, or have already, depending on when you're watching this. So please check our channel for additional content, and we really hope you enjoy. On with the interview.
Deborah Schnitzer is a professor emerita, and she taught at the University of Winnipeg for many years. Her interest in inter-art relationships and experiential learning as an educator is part of what drove her to become not only a professor, but a writer, a poet, an editor, and even a filmmaker. She enjoys working with other artists and editors to create short films and collaborative novels. At the Edge is a novel that she created and collaborated on with 15 other writers across Canada and abroad. In the interview, she will share an excerpt of her fourth work of fiction, The Woman Who Swallowed West Hawk Lake, which will also be adapted into a feature film in the future. She definitely has a wide range of forms of creation, and I took a small segment out of the interview to include in this introduction of Debbie. So I'm just going to read what she herself expressed her interests and her passions as, because she said it very well. I'm interested in playfulness, experimentation, transgression, and disruption of expectations. I'm interested in challenging authority. I'm interested in the topsy-turvy and the upendedness of life. I'm interested in things that are poignant, such as loss, illness, and grief. It's a variety of subjects and forms that I am creating to try to hold those subjects.
Um, it reminds me of relationship. It makes me think about being accountable in the world, just one among many, and I want to retain that sense of relationship always in everything I do. So I believe that I always would talk about myself in a classroom with others, just one human, know what that is, and then what's the responsibility by using that term. What does that mean? All of the various levels. I think it's a good way to try to understand what I might be in this particular galaxy at this time. Now, probably more so than ever. Yeah. So the other things, those might be the doing and the dreaming and the scheming and the thinking and the believing and the hoping, but human is where my standing ground, I think. When you asked me that question, Gloria, I went back to my website and I thought, how could you have forgotten one of the most important things? You are a student. So I immediately put that into my website and said, I begin there. I begin as student learn. That led me to everything. I am awake to learning. This is what I would like to do in the world, and to learn and then to share. Ever since I think that is the most integral part of my being, to learn it, to share it, to learn anew. And that has been the motivator. It's an impulse. I think it wakes me up. It's never been eradicated, regardless of circumstance, always to learn, and to be in community to learn. Even though some things you do in solitude, but to want that, to be passionate about that. And it was there in my first book that I read, The Life Story of Wyatt Earp. And I raced downstairs the moment I read it. And I wanted to share that with my family, who was so preoccupied with everything else. They were not really interested in that great moment for me. So I ran upstairs and read it again. It was that drive in me I wanted to talk about it. And that, I think, teaching is you teach to learn. One absolutely informs the other. So each one takes a different combination of who I might be, because I think you're multifaceted. And so whatever kinds of aptitudes I might have, they reconfigure according to the form that I'm working in. But each one has aspects of teaching and learning and creating within them. And each one, I mean, writing, can be a solitary activity, but also you collaborate as well. You hover over the page, waiting, but then you're revising and you're asking for input from other people and you're reshaping. And I've done things like a collaborative novel, which was working with 16 other people to make a single piece. Working on a screenplay, but then bringing in all kinds of other layers of people, teaching in community-based courses, which I love, but working with other people to do that. Also, I was, my colleagues, their expertise, their practice informed everything I did to be in a community that was really supportive. I came here from Ontario. It has hills. I came from the Canadian Shield. The flatness of this place has always baffled me, and it will probably baffle me until I am no longer in the galaxy, I would have to say. And that influences me. The terrain, the climate has always baffled me. When I find myself, let's say when it's minus 40, and I'm trying to just attend to my garage, to go to the car, to unplug it, to turn it, I think, how could I still be in this space? But then there is what happens to one's person in a challenging space and in a diverse space. That, to me, the diversity, and I know everyone talks about it, but it is true. That is a remarkable aspect of being here. I never, ever take that for granted. It seeps into every dimension of my life and informs how I breathe. I would say that. So while I miss elevation and I miss a softer landing, especially as I age in terms of climate, and in these times of climate change, how can you even begin to speak of it? I think the range, depth, and spread of what happens here changed me very much.
You've agreed to share an excerpt of your choice today of some of your writing. What is the piece you've picked to read, and could you share why you chose that excerpt?
So the piece I have chosen to read, I mean, I'm just as thick in working with this because I've written the novel, and now I have co-written with the director of the film adaptation of the novel. So we've co-written the screenplay. It has been a long process, but it's a story that is really, really important to me. My husband was a second generation Holocaust survivor, and most of his extended family was murdered in Poland, including his half brother Heschel and Hinda. So important to say their names. They were 9 and 8. I decided I would commit myself to research. So I researched, what many call the unthinkable, the unspeakable, the irreconcilable. And I became very interested, sadly, about the 1.5 million Jewish children that were exterminated, but children who were held in the malignant imagination that had the perfect Aryan child and the dirty Jewish child, and a whole other contingent of children called the Lebensborn, which were manufactured in breeding programs by suitably Aryan women and SS officers, for example. So these children, these terrifying fictions that were created, what happens to the child in war? What happens to the child born of this kind of madness? And of course, I thought, of the child that we carried, the children we carried. And we had one photograph remaining of these children, ages 4 and 3, which we kept, I mean, this is the sanctity of memory. And I didn't want this memory to be extinguished. It's an inextinguishable life force. So I created a novel. The central character of the novel is a liminal force called the child, who carries undiminished but brutalized stories of a past that can't go away. Because if you bury the past, you're compelled to repeat it. So this child moves through both the movie and the novel, and she leaves behind to a female character secrets that have been repressed. She brings them to life. Its compelling, I guess, theme is that we cannot pretend that there is a post-Holocaust. We cannot pretend that we are liberated from these actualities, and that the life of children under these kinds, sort of betrayed by secrets like this, the agony of children living in secrets, living in terror, children trafficked, children murdered in this way. We can't allow this. We must tell their stories. Once upon a time, in the place, there was a Mother Cross who was beating the children because she had been trained in this way. Blonde and blue-eyed, strongly made with convictions requiring her to do so. Mother Cross did not think apart from the teachings. She looked at the children and despised them. If they were fat or thin, whatever color they were made of, she did not care, for they did not look like her, even when it was clear that they did. It seemed Mother Cross saw the children only as squealing things. She wanted them to be quiet, and she worked towards that end, beating them when they made sounds, pushing them into boxes when they would not obey. In this, Mother Cross was German, a real German, in love with the picture of the Führer and the bronze medal given by the organizer, dedicated to the place where the children were to be dying. There is so little that gets in Mother Cross's way. The squealing diminishes. The children are soundless. The new ones who come fall faster than nothing. When Mother Cross counts them every day, sometimes twice, she can see that there will be less of them. She can then go to her own children who are living happily with her mother in a village nearby, and she can bring treats, dolls, and other toys washed. Mother Cross does not believe in heaven. She believes in the Führer and cleansing, delighting in the thousands who thought this out carefully, delighting in the containments used to expunge the children who will never have been. Her blood is the better for it. Her husband, if he returns, might make for her more children like the one she has at her mother's. Mother Cross smiles when she thinks of the cradle by the fireplace, polished and waiting. Her husband will be as glad. One more child, and she can stand in line for the silver medal cross of honor of the German mother. Mother Cross has even been able to save bits of jewelry retrieved from the mounds sent elsewhere, unmelted. Little bracelets, silver and gold, round the necks and wrists of some of the children processed. Risking her life to take the bits, pleased her own children will be adorned, brighter in precious stones and metals. There are some children coming who are so blonde and blue, Mother Cross thinks she might sell them. When Mother Cross is thinking in this way, the German woods seem to reverberate, the trees taller, the clouds cloudier, the sun strict, as it should be when the world is reborn in the name of the Father.